Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to my channel, Creative Grandma. I have another beautiful crocheted scarf to show you today. This is a 2-row repeat, very easy to do. So it measures 7.5 inches wide because I like it to go over my head, and I like to be able to really use it to keep myself warm if it's really cold. Now I'm calling this scarf the Snow Day scarf. It's white, it reminds me of snow, and if it's a snowy day, you're going to need a scarf. So let's take a look at the pattern. It's a very easy 2-row repeat. It has a little bit of texture. Best of all, it uses a bulky yarn and a big hook, so you can make this in no time. Now I did add some fringe to the end to make it a little bit fun. Now you can make it with the fringe or you can just leave it without the fringe. It's all up to you. So it measures 7.5 inches wide by 72 inches long without the fringe. If you put the fringe on, then it's going to measure 86 inches long with the fringe. So again, look at that beautiful stitch pattern. I just love classic white. I think it goes with any winter wear, any jacket you have on. White goes with everything. So let me go ahead and tell you what you're going to need to make this scarf today. I use the Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Bulky. It comes in an 87-yard skein, 80 meters, 3.5 ounces, 100 gram. It's 100% anti-pilling, so when you wash your scarf, it's going to keep looking new wash after wash. It's classified as a super bulky number 6. It has been tested and approved against 350 harmful substances, and it's machine wash warm, tumble dry normal. So this is the yarn I used. And you're going to need 5 skeins of yarn to make this scarf. And the color I'm using is color 1068-01, Snow. So again, 5 skeins of the Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Bulky in the color Snow or the color of your choice. You're also going to need a large size M13 or 9mm crochet hook. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get our scarf started. To begin our project, I already have my yarn attached to my hook, and again, I'm using a size M13 or 9mm crochet hook. Now, I want to remind everyone, all my crochet tutorials are filmed using USA crochet terms. Now, this project is worked lengthwise, so this is the length the scarf is going to be. So we're going to begin and we're going to chain 171. You're going to yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop on your hook, and this creates your first chain. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue until you have 171 chains, and I'll meet you after I make my chain. I'm back. I have my 171 chains made, and now we're ready to begin row 1. Now, because we are working lengthwise, we are going to be working in the back bump in order to give this a finished edge. So the back bump, when you look at your chain, you're going to have 3 strands of yarn, 1, 2, and 3. The one in the middle is your back bump, and that is the strand of yarn we're going to be working in each chain. So to begin row 1, we're going to skip the first 2 chains and work a half double crochet into that back bump. So you're going to yarn over, skip 1, 2 chains, flip it over, look for that back bump, that center strand of yarn, insert your hook under that strand, yarn over, pull back through. You have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You just made your first half double crochet, and you can see it puts that finished edge on your scarf. Let's do it again. You're going to yarn over, you're going to look for your next chain, and then you're going to flip your chain over and go into that back bump, that center strand of yarn in that chain. Yarn over, pull back through. You have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Now sometimes when you're working, your chain will stay on the back side, so you're just still going to go into those back bumps. If you turn your work towards you and you look for the next chain, then you need to flip it over, or you can just keep it on the back side and work in those center back bumps. Half double crochet into the back bump of the next chain, half double crochet into the back bump of the next chain, and again the back bump is that center strand on the wrong side of the chain. Half double crochet into the back bump of the next chain. And when you look at your work, you can see how it has that finished edge. So go ahead and continue and work a half double crochet into the back bump of each chain across, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. I'm over at the end of row 1. You worked 1 half double crochet in each chain across, and you should have a total of 170 stitches. Now for my new crocheters out there, you can grab 2 stitch markers. You're going to put one in the very last stitch that you made of row 1, and then you want to go back to the beginning of row 1. You're going to see your first half double crochet and then that skip chain 2. This skip chain 2 counts as the first half double crochet. So go ahead and put a stitch marker right into the top of that chain 2 at the beginning that you skipped. And then when you work across, this will be the last stitch where you put your stitch in. So now we're ready to begin row 2. For row 2, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. Now when you look at your work, the beginning chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Your stitch marker is in the first stitch, and we're working in the back loops only. So you're going to be working in this back loop. We're going to work a single crochet into the first stitch, insert into the back loop only, yarn over, pull through that back loop. You have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You just made a single crochet. Then move your stitch marker up to that first stitch. Now we're going to be working a cross single crochet across the next 2 stitches. You're going to skip the next stitch, go to your next stitch, insert into the back loop, work a single crochet. Then you're going to come back to the skip stitch, insert into the back loop of that skip stitch, work a single crochet. Your cross single crochet is made. And we're just going to work the cross single crochet across to the last stitch. Go to your next 2 stitches, you're going to skip the next stitch, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Then you're going to come over to the skip stitch, insert into the back loop, work a single crochet. Your cross single crochet is made. Let's do the repeat again. Go to your next 2 stitches, and remember you already worked in this stitch because this is the first stitch. This stitch comes over it, so make sure you're not going into this stitch. Go over to your next 2 unworked stitches. Skip the next stitch, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Then you're going to single crochet into the skip stitch into the back loop. Your cross single crochet is made. Let's do it one more time together. Go to your next 2 stitches. You're going to skip the next stitch, single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and then come over and single crochet into the back loop of that previously skipped stitch. Your cross single crochet is made. So go ahead and continue working the cross single crochet across until you have 1 stitch remaining, and I'll meet you at the end of row 2. I'm over at the end of row 2. You should have 1 stitch remaining, or your ending turning chain 2. I just finished my last cross single crochet, and you're going to end the row by working a single crochet in the back loop of this turning chain, right into the top of that chain where you have your stitch marker, work a single crochet. Then move your stitch marker up to that last stitch just worked. Row 2 is finished. Now we're ready to begin row 3. Now row 1 is the base row, rows 2 and row 3 will be your repeat rows. So let's go ahead and begin row 3. For row 3, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. The beginning chain 1 does not count as a stitch. For row 3, we're going to work a half double crochet in the back loop of each stitch across. Yarn over, skip the beginning chain 1, insert into the back loop of that first stitch, work a half double crochet. Then move your stitch marker up to that very first stitch. Half double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch. Half double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch. Half double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch. And again, half double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch. Continue and work 1 half double crochet into the back loop of each stitch across, and I'll meet you at the end of row 3. I'm over at the end of row 3. I have 1 stitch remaining, and you're going to see that you have your stitch marker in that last stitch. So work a half double crochet into the last stitch. And then move your stitch marker up to that very last stitch you just made. So row 3 is finished. So now to go ahead and continue working on your scarf, for rows 4 through 13, you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 5 more times. So again, to continue working on your scarf, repeat row 2 and row 3 5 more times, and I'll meet you at the end of row 13. I'm over at the end of row 13. This is what your scarf is going to look like. You're going to see that beautiful pattern. So when you're over at the end of row 13, we are finished. We are going to go ahead and fasten off. I like to leave that longer length. I chain 2, pull my hook up, yarn out, grab, pinch, and pull down. So now I'm going to go ahead, weave in my ends, and then I'll be right back. So go ahead, use a yarn needle, weave in all your ends on the back of your scarf, and then we're going to add some fringe, some nice fun fringe on the end. So you want to cut 70 pieces of fringe 14 inches long. So go ahead and cut 70 pieces of yarn 14 inches long, and we'll start putting our fringe on the end of our scarf. To put our fringe on the scarf, you want to make sure that the textured side is facing you. The flat side, the flatter side is the wrong side, and you want this textured side facing up. We're going to be putting our fringe in between the edge and the next row, and then between these 2 textured rows right in the center of the 2 textured rows across. You're going to have 7 groups of fringe with 5 pieces of fringe in each group. So you want to grab your first 5 pieces of fringe, just make sure the ends are lined up, and once you get the fringe on, you can always trim it to make sure the edges of the fringe is straight. So I'm just taking the 5 pieces, I'm folding it in half. And then what I do is just keep my finger in that center, grab your crochet hook, and again, we're going between the edge and the first row. You want to go up into that space. So you can see where my hook is going. And then I stick my hook in the center of the fringe, and I just kind of keep my fingers there to hold that in place. And then I pull it through, pull up a big loop, and then take your hook underneath the fringe, and then pull that fringe through that loop and then tighten with your fingers. And that's how easy it is to put the fringe on your scarf. And then I like to tighten it a little more. Grab your next 5 pieces of fringe and then just pull it up so it looks even. And then I just put my finger right there at the edge to keep that open. Grab your crochet hook, and now we're going in between the 2 textured rows right into this flat part. Insert your hook wherever it's easier to get your hook in, right on the edge. Insert into the middle of the fringe, and then pull that fringe through. Pull up a big loop so it's big enough that you can pull all that fringe through. Then take your hook underneath the fringe, have it laying on top of your hook, and then pull it through that loop. And then just pull the fringe out, take a hold of the fringe, and pull tight. So go ahead and continue. You're going to put 5 pieces of fringe between the next 2 textured rows right here on the edge, between the next 2 right here on the edge, and so on down. And after you work between the last 2 textured rows, you're going to put a set of fringe right here between the edge and that row, that textured row. So go ahead and finish putting your fringe across this end and repeat to the other side, and your scarf will be finished. Once you have all your fringe on your scarf, just use your fingers, pull that fringe down, and then you're going to notice it's a little bit uneven. So then you just want to take your scissors and you just want to trim your fringe across so it's even. Once you trim your fringe and it's suitable, then your scarf is finished, all ready to wear. So our scarf is finished. This is what the final scarf should look like. Just a beautiful textured scarf with a little bit of fun fringe on the end. If you enjoyed today's crochet tutorial, please make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the crochet fun here on Creative Grandma's channel. So until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting. Bye, everyone.